Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the PK Clan Tournament 4 Grand Finals. This is game number 6 in the Best of 11 series between Gaia and Boneng. So, if you haven't seen the previous games in this series, then I would highly recommend watching those first before watching this one, because in this game I am quite likely to talk about who won the previous games and what happened in those games. So, unless you want to spoil those for yourself, then yeah, there's that to consider. But here, in the north of the map, taking the colour blue today, playing as the Portuguese, we have Boneng. And of course, this is a best of 11. He's currently on 4 wins, and a best of 11 is essentially first to 6 wins. And if he can, of course, take the following game, as well as this one, then he will achieve that and win the tournament. So, just 2 points away from that. We'll see, of course, if he can do it. Gaia is a worthy opponent, but is behind. We'll see what Boneng can do. Boneng, though, is at home on a water map, and as you can see, plenty of fish, food there, and of course the coin from the whales, with which he has access to. And he's playing Portuguese, and he's always he has already proven to us that in game number 2 he is an absolute monster on the water, with of course Portuguese. And I would actually say Boneng is the best player currently on ESO on a water map. He is very, very strong when it comes to those maps and knows exactly what he's doing. Of course, we have already seen that water build, and so of course is Gaia as his opponent, so perhaps Gaia will be better prepared for it. So maybe Boneng will show us something slightly different. I guess we'll find out. We'll take a look at his deck, but actually it occurs to me he wouldn't have picked one yet, since of course hasn't actually received his first shipment. Needs to train a few more units and build a few more buildings and kill a few more treasure guardians, as you can see here, to get a bit more XP before he can send that first shipment. But grabbing himself 120 coin down here, not too bad at all, and I believe about to get his first home city shipment. We'll see what it is, but this 120 coin, of course he got the XP from killing the guardians and all that, and yeah, anyway, this coin is going to give him, perhaps make it a little bit easier to get the steel traps upgrade, but then again he could get the woodcutting upgrade in Age 2 as well. It's a very expensive upgrade, and by the looks of it he is going to take the water by the fact that he's sending schooners. 60% decrease to the cost of fishing ships, going to make them cost 40 wood instead of 100, and that's certainly going to help him out. Looks like he's going to go for that boom style approach, so that coin is certainly going to be useful if, of course, he wants that woodcutting upgrade, and if it's anything like the previous build, that coin might even help him go up to Fortress. We'll see what happens, but this deck here looks very similar to the one we saw in game number 2. In fact, I think it's the exact same deck, so he could do something slightly different with it, but then again, he could do what we have already seen. I guess we'll find out. We have, though, in the south of the map, Gaia. In the colour red here, going for a 105 coin treasure, not too bad. Going to grab some XP from killing the Guardians, and perhaps the coin will help him out with the same things and the same reasons as the other coin treasure, which of course Boneng was getting. But today, he's playing as the Germans, and the Germans, I really don't understand this civilization choice, because we saw this in the previous game on Saguenay, game number 2, which was Portuguese versus, well, Germans, and I was kind of confused as to why he picked Germans then, and I am still confused. In fact, even more so now that he has done it again. But yeah, Germany don't have the schooner shipment. They are one of 2. Of course, France doesn't have schooners either. Civilizations that cannot have schooners, cannot send it, and therefore his options to take the water, well, he doesn't have the option to take the water, because if he does take the water, then it's just not going to work. It's just not going to happen, because his opponent can just do it so much more efficiently. So he's going to have to play on the land. Now, I am confused about the civilization choice, but let's take a look at Germany as a civilization. What is so desirable about Germany? Well, they start the game with 3 settler wagons, and settler wagons are actually what make Germany so good. They are very strong on the land. They have one of the strongest, perhaps the strongest, economy early on, and this is all due down to settler wagons. So they start the game with 3 settler wagons. That's the equivalent of 6 settlers. That's normal. Other civilizations start with 6, so you know, what's different? Nothing really. That's fine. But their first home city shipment, 2 settler wagons here, which he's already sent, of course, that is possibly the best home city shipment in the game for settlers in Age 1, because it's the equivalent of 4 settlers, right? No other civilization has that. Then in the next age, they also have access to 3 and 2 settler wagons. So that's 3 settler wagons is essentially 6 settlers. And if you send that, that's either your first or second home city shipment in Age 2, then you will have a very strong economy relative to other civilizations. And let's take a look at, say, France for a moment, which don't have quite as strong an economy early on, say, as Germany do. It's still quite good, but Germany is stronger. It's probably the strongest. It's just as France will get a stronger economy over time because, of course, they train Carrera de Bois, which actually train at a faster rate than other settlers relative to the speed at which they can gather resources. Of course, they actually do take longer to train Carrera de Bois, but they actually gather faster. So here we see this settler wagon coming out, perhaps to build a forward barracks. Might see some colonial pressure, and of course, Germany have a very strong early colonial pressure due to the fact that they can send all of those settler wagons, and of course make that, make lots of units to back it up. If of course they send two settler wagons followed by 3 settler wagons. Looks like he's going to send 700 wood. He's still got time to send, of course, 3 settler wagons, but the wood there will help him get perhaps a second barracks up if he chooses to do some colonial pressure, and also some houses, and then he can follow 3 settler wagons up at a later date. And also, he can get some upgrades with the wood as well. Wood is definitely a good shipment. The other option is, of course, a semi-fast fortress, and the really strong economy that all of these settler wagons gives you, once you're in the fortress age, will give you the ability to train lots of units, and then perhaps you can overwhelm his opponent then. And those are the options, I suppose, that Germany have open to them, but we'll see what his second shipment is in a moment. He appears to be taking the trade route. He's got one of these down, so perhaps thinking about that semi-fast fortress if he's going to go for, of course, trading sites, and that'll give him some XP and with which he can kind of spend in the fortress age to sell more shipments. He could even go for more than one trading post and perhaps upgrade them, though I find that less likely since, of course, really you want to be quite quick when it comes to pressuring, say, Portugal, I suppose. I'll switch over to Boneng and see what he is up to. Currently now sending the colonial militia, and he did this last game actually as well. Actually now cancelling it, so no longer sending colonial militia. As we can see, has 3 docks up already. Just absolutely ridiculous. Just going for the full boom here. And he was sending colonial militia, so perhaps was a little bit worried about the pressure that Gaia will be putting on. But perhaps turning the fog of war on. He's only scouted the 1 barracks. If he perhaps scouted 2 barracks, then he might have decided to keep colonial militia. But by the looks of it, as we kind of know, Gaia's going to go up with the semi-fast fortress, I think. And that means he can get that really nice economy of the settler wagons and then head up to fortress and start to put the pressure on there. But in the meantime, before he goes up to fortress, he'll have 10 crossbowmen by the looks of it. He might make 15, but I think 10 is better, because it would slow you down if you decided to make more than that. And these crossbowmen he can use to try and kill some settlers and get some early pressure in. Of course, didn't manage to do that much over here. This town centre, they were able to just garrison the units in, but now going to come in with these crossbowmen, and he might be able to snipe some settlers next to the town centre here on the wood there. But they're quite well protected because these trees are so close to, of course, the coast. So Boneng already off to a very, very fast start with, of course, the amount of, well, the sheer amount of villagers or gathering units. He's got 34 units, and that, of course, includes all the fishing boats. Here we see, coming behind the town centre, perhaps to look for some settlers, but, of course, we know there's none. Put the fog of war on. No settlers behind here, so perhaps he's wondering where the wood is being collected. But actually, I think this is a little bit risky. We look at Boneng. He has, I believe, sent his Minutemen over here, and he did send 2 caravels, which are up here. If these come down across the side, and the Minutemen can sandwich these crossbowmen in between the town centre and the coast, of course, there's a tiny gap here, then he's going to lose all of these crossbowmen, and that is a fairly, well, these need to do a lot of damage. Well, not a lot, but certainly do some damage to his opponent's economy. These boats going to come in, and boats are so strong against units. Those crossbowmen just going to go down, and really, he could have tried to escape from perhaps the Minutemen, but these boats would have just absolutely torn him down. And really, those crossbowmen just going down so quickly, so easily, just means that I think that Boneng is already off to an advantage, because Gaia really needed to secure a few settler kills and do a little bit of early damage in order to make his, well, of course, slow his opponent down, so that his opponent will have a less military units, well, less economy to train the military units, and then his fortress pressure should hopefully break his opponent or pressure his opponent, weaken his opponent, win the game easier that way, but really not doing enough damage at all. And here, yeah, trying to bring down this trading site, because he has, I believe, invested in the stagecoach man. There he is. The, of course, improved, evolved version of this trap voice man. And here, I suppose, just a small engagement with the Minutemen there. Nothing really influential, just using the cavalry to bring those down. Only a few pikemen really lost, nothing really important. But stopping, of course, Boneng from having that trading site, which has been upgraded. Now, take a look at what Boneng's got. He sent, of course, didn't send colonial militia, sent 2 caravels, which have actually proved quite influential in protecting, well, actually doing damage. I mean, these really do help you defend the coastline. They're so strong against land units. Boats really are. And, you know, could be useful up here, since, of course, but Gaia has put up a tower. Now, the tower, you'd think, would be doing an anti-ship damage of 100 and absolutely destroying these boats, but it only does 100 to warboats. These are classed as fishing ships, so it only does the ranged attack of 30, which is, you know, these boats can actually just continue to work. But should any warboats come along, and we know, of course, Boneng is most likely going to go up to the fortress age. Sorry, we know, of course, most likely Gaia will be up to the fortress age. Has all of the resources, is floating a lot of coin here. I would have expected him to perhaps already be up to the fortress age by now, or have clicked up sooner, so that he would nearly be there, of course, and would be able to start spending these resources sooner. But perhaps that coin is going to be used for maybe a military shipment like the German Black Riders here, which of course are those mercenaries. Really, really strong, of course, anti-cavalry, I suppose. They're similar to the Dragoon / Cavalry Archer style unit, but they are so strong that they can be used for raiding. They are good against other units as well, since of course they are just so strong. Black Riders wouldn't be a bad decision, I suppose. He has the coin for that, but I guess we'll see what he does anyway. I'd just like to point out that outpost Gaia has put up on the coast there would be quite effective against these two caravels if they come in, and you know, he can secure some land aggression next to that outpost under the cover of it. Here, these cavalry coming in, but Gaia not going to get any settler kills. Boneng going to get his settlers in there, being very careful. But yeah, that outpost seems to be his only aggression on the water, and yes, he could have sent two caravels himself, as we see, you know, like these two. But yeah, these pikemen coming in now. But I think two caravels will be a bad decision, since actually he could just garrison fishing boats into the docks, and that would handle them, and also that town centre he put up on the coast would handle caravels really well, so I think it'd be a waste of a shipment. Gaia now sending 1,000 wood. This seemed a little strange, because I would have thought, you know, those settler wagon shipments, he did send 3 settler wagons, and he sent, of course, 2 settler wagons, obviously, and has that really strong early economy, which I believe is going to be stronger than the Portuguese player, at least until all these fishing boats really kick off, and of course they will eventually really start to, you know, the boom will come to fruition. And I think, you know, he's putting up a town centre already, and this is really not what you would expect from a semi-fast fortress. I would have thought that the pressure would have been laid on thick and fast, and perhaps not. That's not what he's going for here. I mean, in the previous game, he did a semi-fast fortress, and it really didn't work out for him. So perhaps here, actually, shaking the build up a bit, and instead of being aggressive upon hitting up, he's actually going to start booming, and of course take that, well, the town centre route to build, of course that 1,000 wood there is enough to get a second town centre up, I would imagine. And I suppose he could take the water and start building fishing boats, but I don't think that's a good idea, and I really don't think that is what he's going to do. But, you know, perhaps since, of course, the putting on the pressure in the previous game, I remember, here we see 5 skirmishers have been trained, and he's trying to come in and kill a settler, not being successful there. Boneng being very good at getting them into the town centre, just wherever, especially, you know, just cavalry down here, just the stray cavalry units managed to get them into the town centre, skirmishers, etc. But, yeah, in the previous game, where we had this matchup, Gaia's first shipment was 8 skirmishers. And with the 8 skirmishers, he started putting the pressure back on. He also went with crossbowmen, as we saw earlier, as well, to try and get some damage. But here, not going with the 8 skirmishers and not putting the aggression on. So I think, you know, in the previous game, putting the aggression on early didn't really work. The boom of the Portuguese player came to fruition, and Gaia just got behind and then lost the game due to the fact that his opponent could outmass him and out-unit him, just out-economy him. Perhaps in this game, instead of putting on the aggression and getting behind quickly, he's going to put the aggression on and, well, I don't want to say get behind, but I still think that that is going to be the case. I mean, Portuguese and, well, at the moment, I imagine their all resources gathered total will be quite similar. Here we see, I believe, that is a town, yeah, an outpost going up. A little bit too ambitious, too close to the coast there. That would be really effective at countering caravels, but just a little bit too close to the coast. Anyway, yeah, I think at the moment their all resources total will be very similar, since of course the Portuguese player is investing a huge amount into the amount of fishing boats he has. 72, that's outrageous. So yeah, whilst the resources gathered will be very similar, I think the Portuguese player will eventually just get ahead and start to overboom him. And you know, in the last game, Gaia got behind. I just think in this game, Gaia will probably get behind more slowly, so he'll be able to keep up a little bit better, but as we can see, Boneng is already going up to the industrial age. I believe he was, you know, aging up to fortress, and then the moment he hit fortress, he actually just got the age up in Q. And I think that is, you know, what he did last game, just going for the same build as last game, actually, and has actually rebuilt this trading post and is now starting to benefit from, of course, all of these trading sites. But 75 settlers now. He's taking both sides of the water. He's moved from, of course, this side onto the other side, and I actually think, yeah, there it is. Boneng, well, Gaia actually sent a frigate Here we see, of course, coming in to deny that trading post again. Boneng doesn't have any land military, so can't stop that, but providing Boneng can get like a shipment off that, then it's fine. He might be able to get another one as it comes past, so I think this trading post was worth it. But yeah, this frigate, I'm not entirely sure if this was in the right place. I mean, now that he's got this first tower up, he was able to get the settler closer, since of course this tower was covering the builder of the second tower, so perhaps this wasn't the wrong place at all, and this was the place he actually wanted to send the frigate, because, well, you can argue that it'd be best to send the frigate onto the other lake, because he has a tower up here as well, and you know, this is where Boneng has actually got most of his fishing, and he can kill that. But then the argument is most of the fish on this side will probably be gone by now, and for that reason, well, actually here we see some, of course, stables going up. Boneng not quite in the industrial age, but probably not far off. Anyway, most of the fish will be gone, just the whales left. But on this side, all of the fish are probably still there and remain. Boneng now up to the industrial age, but yeah, that frigate, having built these towers here, trying to secure this side of the water, because, you know, the fish is still here, and if he can stop Boneng from getting that, well then, you know, maybe the idea is that once the fish run out on this side, Boneng's economy will really slow down. He spent a lot of wood investing into food gather, and once the fish are gone, then, you know, most of these fishing ships will be useless. These two actually are useless. I think the fish are actually running out, and actually we see a dot going up here, so Gaia perhaps wants to secure this side as well. But yeah, most of the fish remain on this side, and I think the point was to try and stop Boneng from getting this, and then, you know, once all the fish will run out on the other side and he's secured this side, he can catch up with all three of his town centres and the game will go on quite evenly. But I don't think that logic will apply today because, of course, Boneng actually up to the industrial age. Already got both factories in queue, has a ton of coin on the floor, and he probably is going to get the Janitz upgrade. Has a huge amount of, well, not a huge amount, but certainly some veteran dragoons already. Really not a lot of military units going on, but no doubt we'll get the upgrades in queue. Has basically the wood to do so. Anyway, the food gather, you know, the food, as you can see here, actually, he's floating a lot of coin, and his food gatherers are running out, and I think that's no fault of his macro, it's just the fact that he doesn't have map control, the Portuguese player, and he has no access to food. Like, this is dangerous here, he can't gather from that, and the fish is starting to run out, so he's going to have to make use of the resources he does have. Fortunately, though, this factory's going up, and he can configure it to food should he need to. But, yeah, you know, the idea is, I suppose, these two town centres plus his original one will start to catch up with his opponent once, you know, because Boneng no longer has that food. But I don't know how relevant this argument is going to be. I mean, because of the, you know, he's got a lot of dragoons now. Another factory popping out, and he's starting to send the two, well, he's getting the Janitz upgrade in queue to have heavy cannons being delivered, and I believe once they have arrived, he'll be able to push out. These Yulans coming in here, perhaps they're going to kill the factory. I think, yeah, there's no space to put down the foundation. It looks like the Yulans are going to get in there and kill it. These dragoons, perhaps it was a lure, bringing the factory back here to draw forward all of the red cavalry, so that, of course, the blue dragoons could counter them. They're very strong counters, but I don't know, that's not really a good idea to lure your opponent's cavalry. That probably wasn't the case, but either way, that factory going down, really big loss for for Boneng there, really not too good at all. But, you know, at this point in the game with 89 settlers, does it matter? I mean, yes, it does matter, because here, these dragoons, yes, they're Janitz dragoons, they're very strong, but skirmishers here are actually, you know, the direct counter. They are a tier below in terms of upgrades, and but they still counter Janitz very effectively, even though they are so strong and so upgraded so much. But now that these cannons have arrived, there's no way Gaia can hang around, because all he have is infantry, and of course skirmishers get absolutely annihilated by cannons, as we saw in the previous game, and as you can imagine anyway. And these Doppelsoddeners not really that great at killing cannons either. I mean, if they get into hand combat, fair enough, but you're not going to commit to getting into hand combat, because you know, if you get too close, then you've committed. You have to do it. You have to get into hand combat and do the damage to the cannons. But the cannons have so many hit points that it's very unlikely that you'll be able to kill the cannons with just a few dops. And here you can see the amount of damage. Some skirmishes going down. These dops getting a little bit close. They are, of course, going to do very, very good damage, and as you can see, we'll switch over, of course, to Boneng. Actually, most of these dragoons have taken a lot of damage, and that's due to the area damage, of course, from the Doppelsoddeners, possibly from the skirmisher shots as well. But actually, now those dragoons could challenge these skirmishers. There's enough of them to. The only thing really stopping him is, you know, these dragoons, there's enough of them to get close, so a lot of them are low hit points, so perhaps not. But, you know, even though skirmishers directly counter, these are a tier above and they're quite strong. But then again, the Doppelsoddeners would stop that. Here we see Boneng already starting to take back that trading post. Gonna, as soon as, you know, not messing around, no time wasted here, just gonna grab that. We'll switch over to Gaia and see what he's got in mind. 9 Yulans on the way, and I think that is the answer, of course, to these cannons. Perhaps these settlers are trying to get into hand combat. I I don't think that was the case. Perhaps that was a misclick, but this one here certainly going to do 10 damage in hand combat. I doubt that that'll be allowed to continue, but you know, not really a lot. You can see how few damage. 10 hand attack is actually still quite a lot. Well, it's not, but it is compared to their ranged attack of 3, and you can see the tiny amount of damage which is done to that cannon. These 9 Yolans that are coming out, that's his immediate answer. He's already put up the artillery foundry, and perhaps, you know, because the only real counter to cannons, well, heavy cannons, since they have so many hit points, is the other, you know, culverins, which counter them. I think, yeah, now these 9 Yolans coming out, bringing in all of his units, and I think he's going to catch the blue player off guard here, bringing these in to get into hand combat with the cannons. They're going to go down half hit points each, but these dragoons, sorry, the red cavalry's going down very quickly to the dragoons, and both the cannons still alive, and he committed to it, but hasn't managed to pay off. He's going to have to finish them off with, of course, the dragoons and the skirmishers. Sorry, not the dragoons, the Doppelsudden is here, but they're so weak to cavalry, they're going to take so much damage. And it looks like all of these dragoons are just going to get loads of free shots off on those cannons. I think, though, losing the cannons, he was caught off a little bit off guard, so not too bad a job from Gaia here. But he's got, you know, the factories behind him. Anyway, let's take a look at their economies here. 60... well, let's carry on with the factories. He's got the factories there behind him to create more cannons, is what I meant to say. And also, he's got a huge economy anyway. So I think... whilst that was a reasonable... he handled that reasonably well, Gaia. He did. That was good. That was not too bad. I think the cavalry, you know, could have focused down just the one cannon and then moved on to the other. That might have been better. But, you know, the situation was handled. That's the point here. Now he's managed to handle the immediate situation. He's got the culverins for, of course, the future. But taking a look at the score here, 268 to Gaia, 344 to Boneng. He is just so far ahead. Let's compare their economies here. And I think in this game, actually, Gaia's doing better than he was in the previous one. But he's still getting... in the terms of his economy, because it's, you know, not getting as far behind as it was in the previous game. But, you know, 67 settlers, and I guess we have to count, of course, the settler wagons as well, if we can find one. There they are here. So he has 70 settlers now, plus 8 settler wagons, so that's a 78 settler economy. Compare that to Boneng, who's on 97. We'll have to take a look at the villager population as well, because I think Gaia's had, you know, Gaia's only just caught up in the sense that he's got into fortress, and these have been, you know, starting to build more units here. But I think Boneng's been so far ahead the entire game with regards to settler count, and you know, those early settler wagon shipments do give the German a strong economy, but it's not going to last forever. Eventually, civilizations such as France, which train Carrera de Bois, you know, do get ahead, as I mentioned earlier, and again Portugal with all of the boats here, that frigate coming in, and you know, this thing hasn't done anything the entire game really. I mean, it's idling these, but it's not really. It's a shipment. It's a fortress age shipment. It's worth 1,000 resources, which he otherwise could have spent. Of course, this is Boneng's. Well, home city, but you get the idea there. There's lots of things in the Fortress Age slots that you could have sent instead of a frigate, since of course the frigate's not really doing much. These dragoons coming in, Boneng's dragoons, trying to do some damage to the settlers, and of course they're not great with that 0.5 times multiplier, that negative multiplier versus settlers, but they're still going to do some damage. He's going to have to evacuate these, bringing the settlers up this way, of course perhaps trying to lure the dragoons towards the skirmishers and get some shots in, and of course protect the skirmishers, bringing the Doppelsudderners around the back, but you know, these dragoons never went actually far forward, and you know, coming down here to kill even more settlers. And we're looking at Boneng now sending economic theory, getting really far ahead in terms of killing his opponent's settlers here, and you know, he's already ahead since of course Boneng, blue player, has so many more settlers, and he's now sending like upgrades like economic theory. Just researched, I believe, the mercantilism shipment, 1,500 coin upgrade for 1,500 XP, of course, for the shipments. More settlers down here going down, really not too good at all. He's just so far ahead, and I'm really interested to see the post game, because it's just... this is really not too good for Gaia. I'm not a fan of saying, yeah, the game's over, because as a caster, I have to try and make you interested and not really reveal who's going to win. But at this point, I honestly can't see how Gaia is going to come back. And there it is. He's just called the end of the game there, and I'm not surprised. It was just a downhill defeat from, of course, around the mid-game. And I don't think he put on the early age fortress pressure. I think losing all those crossbowmen in perhaps the colonial age and not doing enough damage there said that you kind of changed his plans a bit, and maybe he was going to do some early pressure. But this turns out to just be a slightly slower or faster, however you want to look at it, I suppose, version of the previous game on, of course, Saguenay. And there's that. So yeah, this not working out for him, actually. Germany, I do find as a strange civ for this map. I guess we'll take a look at the post-game here. Of course, I imagine their early economy. We'll take a look at villager population, since of course that accounts for the fact that settler wagons are equivalent to 2 settlers and 2 population here. And as you can see, he is ahead early game. And this jump here, this is just why the shipment is so crazy. That jump is huge. And you can see, though, that Boneng is just nothing. It's just really, really insignificant here. And he catches up towards the end of the game, as I mentioned. But in terms of all resources gathered, it will probably be quite similar. And in actually fact, Gaia is ahead early game, as I said he would be. You know, I said the German economy very, very strong here. But Boneng definitely gets quite far ahead, and just eventually, actually, even though it doesn't look that much, there's 43,000 resources there compared to what we have, as you can see, Gaia's. It doesn't. He just got up to Fortress Age, and Boneng just really, from there, it wasn't going to happen. So there's that. The score total here, as you can see, fairly even all game, as it probably would be. But you know, you can't outboom. You can't last forever against an opponent who booms that much on the water. Germany is a good civ on the land, but as I just said, there's that. So again, thank you very much for watching, everybody. That concludes game number 6. Gaia only on 1 win. He needs to win some more games. Come on, Gaia. Boneng on 5 wins, I believe. 5 wins, yes. He needs 1 more win until this. Then he ends the tournament. And would be the winner of the tournament. So, Gaia, come on, bro. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. I'll see you next time.